So in the end of the last video, I was pretty much ready for paint, but right now I'm just gonna caulk all the seams and sand it to get it ready for paint. So I used my sprayer that I have. I have a Graco sprayer. I don't use it a whole lot, and I find it difficult to get the viscosity of the paint just right. I did use this to spray it, and I ended up also using my air compressor with the gravity-fed spray gun. I didn't film a lot of this because I was having a lot of trouble with it actually, because I didn't want to paint this whole project with a brush. But I did end up using a sprayer. I don't think I'm going to use this sprayer that you see in the video for too many projects unless it's just a stain or finish. It works really good for that, but once you start getting into having to water down the paints and thin it out, it just is, I have a difficult time with it. So now that we have the actual bench done, we have to do the seat and the bench top. So these are going to be the seats and tops, and I decided to use dowels for this. So I'm marking all the locations of my dowels. And now I'm going to use my dowel jig on all the marks I just made to drill out the dowel holes. This was my first time using a dowel jig. Actually, I bought this jig off of Amazon specifically for this project, as I didn't want to use pocket holes on the benches, since the benches will have hinges and you'll see the bottom of them, and I didn't want pocket holes. The holes for the dowel seemed like they were a little big, so I'm going to have to play around with it, but for this project it worked fine. So these are the two tops of the bench, and I'm gluing them both up at once. And this is actually going to be the two bench seats I'm gluing up right here. And to clean up, the actual tops were able to fit through my thickness planer, so I just took a bunch of really thin layers off just to clean it up and get all the glue squeezed out of it. And the actual bench seats couldn't fit through the thickness planer, so I had to do all that by hand. And then once I get them sanded, I am cutting them to final width right now. And now time for the finish. I'm using a pre-stain on these since it's pine. The pre-stain just helps it prevent blotchiness with the stain. So I'm pausing it right here to show you guys something. I don't know if you can see, but in the middle of this board, there's some weird shaped like blotches or where the stain is different. And I'd never had this happen to me before, but this is actually caused by my sweat. When I was moving these boards around, I'm working in my garage in the Florida summer, and it's very hot, and I get very sweaty. And those are actually my marks with my arm, where my arms touch the wood and the sweat when the wood. I've never had that issue before, so I ended up having to sand a lot of it down and then reapply the stain. So that's something in my future projects I'm going to have to be careful of because I've never had that happen before. And now I'm putting on my clear coat. I ended up doing about 4 coats of this clear coat with sanding 220 grit in between each coat. So there's the 2 bench seats, and then the strips in between are going to be where the piano hinge is going to attach to. And then this is one of the bench tops that I forgot to make final width before I completely finished it, so I'm putting painter's tape to protect all the edges while I cut it to final width. Now I'm using a self-centering drill bit to drill and screw all the piano hinges. Then there ended up not being as much storage under these benches as I hoped, but there is some room to place some stuff in there. I don't know how much you can actually fit under there, but I guess it's nice to have that option. And I didn't get to film in my neighbor's house when I was installing this, but this is first part of the install, and I was getting the tops in and fitted. I ended up going from behind and just screwing some screws and some brackets up top, and then I installed the piano hinge and the bench seats. And that's pretty much it. This was a long project. I took over a couple months. I just worked on it a little bit at a time. It was the summertime. We were spending a lot of time with the family. But my neighbors, this was for my neighbors, they ended up really happy with it, and I'm glad I got the opportunity to build something like this because I've always wanted to build something like this. So I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Like and subscribe, and stay tuned for the next one. Thanks.